Today, we are going to be talking about 3 different eyeshadow palettes, 2 which have already launched and 1 which will be launching on the 26th of June. I love these videos where I can do some detailed swatches and looks with each palette. And I'm also really excited because I've been really wanting to do some videos incorporating more Cbeautymall palettes. So let's go ahead and get into it. The first palette I have is from Gourmande Girls. This is going to be launching on the 26th of June. It's called Summerween, and this is what the inside color story looks like. It has 14 pans with 9 mattes and 5 shimmers. And at the time that I'm making this video, I haven't seen a price on the palette. I will pop my discount affiliate code up on the screen now. I believe that saves 10%. I was really excited about this color story because it is bright and colorful. I also love this concept of Summerween, which honestly I hadn't heard of until maybe a year or 2 ago in the makeup world. I think it's exactly what it sounds like, which is a way of enjoying Halloween colors in summer. I've tried a few palettes from Gourmande Girls, and so I was excited to dip into this one. I still feel like I need to play around with it a little bit more before I can really characterize my thoughts on the formula. My general impression is that the mattes are very pigmented, and you get a mix of regular shimmers and chrome shimmers. The texture of these shimmers feel pretty smooth. I feel like they would work for a good variety of skin types, and none of them felt like oily or squishy or emollient. Right off the bat, I will say there is one thing I would change about the color story. I feel like the 2 greens are pretty similar. But other than that, this is a color story I was definitely very excited to dip into. All right, and the next 2 palettes I have are from Cheeryep. I'm so sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. I've been trying their palettes for quite some time, and in particular, I love this format for their palettes. Some of the color stories I jive with, and some of them I don't. I have to say I was really excited about these 2. This first palette is called Ember, and I love that you get a good mix of kind of lighter shades and deeper shades. This palette basically is what I consider one of my favorite types of neutral palettes, which is a sultry neutrals. One that you can make some very glam smoky eyes and have some special shimmers to incorporate into your looks. In these palettes, you do have a wide variety of textures and finishes. There's some satin shades in here. There's some straight shimmers. There's, I think, even some holographic shadows. A really beautiful selection, and one of the things I look forward to most about these palettes. These shimmers are definitely standout. Here's what the whole palette looks like swatched to my arm. And before I forget to mention, you can get these palettes from Cbeautymall, Lookhealthystore, but you can also get them from Yesstyle. I will put my codes for those sites up on the screen now. They are affiliated. All right, and the second palette I have from Cheeryep is called Firework. And before I dip into it, I just have to take a moment for this packaging as well. Both this one and Ember have such cool exterior packaging, and then I love that it's still kind of colorful interior. Now, when I first saw this palette, I was drawn to it because it's colorful, but I wasn't sure exactly how I was going to feel about it because there's not a whole lot of depth. But the color story is very whimsical and unexpected, the same way I feel about the packaging. As you can see, when I'm swatching it, you have, again, a good mixture of textures when it comes to the shimmers. You have some that are satin, you have ones that are very metallic. And something that I haven't seen them do before at all is the glitter that they have in here. Normally, I'm not a glitter person, but I love that this is like a star glitter. I'm not going to say it's the most practical thing, but hey, it is fun. You can't deny it. Here's what the whole palette looks like swatched to my arm. I think, as I mentioned, the main thing or kind of concern I had with it is just that it's not as much depth as I typically like. But it is a fun color story. I'm excited to play with it, and I would probably also use this as a companion palette. All right, and let's go ahead and start off by dipping into this bright, colorful color story from Gourmande Girls called Summerween. I went ahead and primed my lids with the Danessa Myricks Color Fix in Nude 4. I know that I want to use the bright tones for sure, but I think I'm going to start off with this gray toned matte and put that on the inner portion of the lid, because I want to use that lime shade as kind of a inner corner highlight and a brow bone highlight. And I have to say, these mattes are definitely very pigmented, even on the first dip into the pan. But so far they definitely are blending out nicely. I don't know, I feel like there just haven't been many exciting mainstream releases recently, so thank goodness for indie makeup bringing us some fun, interesting color stories. All right, went ahead and put that on both eyes. I really like the way that that matte performed. I really want to dip into this blue matte here. It's called Poolside Panic. So it's this bright blue, but it also has a beautiful depth to it. And I feel like this will be, oh, that is so pretty. A really great shade to use on the outer corner. How do I describe these mattes? I feel like these are incredibly pigmented even on the first dip into the pan, but I do find them very blendable. So despite being so pigmented, often I feel like you do have a little bit more control with less pigmented mattes, with more buildable mattes, but I gotta say, you are able to really stretch each dip into the pan very far and blend out the edges well. Like all of that was just from one dip into the pan. Now I did get some fallout with that matte, so I'll have to clean that up later, but I am putting shadow on the lower lash line, so I'm gonna wait to do that. Okay, and here is where we're at so far. Now, I think what I want to do is play around with this really bright pink. This is called Hot Ghoul Summer. I really love the combination of blue and pink in general. So I'm going to just take a little bit and fade it out into the pink out here. Oh yeah, that's beautiful. And then I'm just going to work a little bit down here as well. Right, and I kind of created some purple where the blue and the pink met, but I don't mind that. I'm gonna go dip into this shade called Witchful Thinking. I love all the puns on these shade names. And I'm just going to add that along the outer lower lash line to add some depth. I think I'm gonna add that to the lid as well in that same corresponding area, just so that those shades tie together. Adding that plum shade there really starts to tie the look together. It was looking a little crazy before adding that deeper matte to just tighten up the look a little. Now I'm finally going to dip into this beautiful lime shade here. This is called Sun Scaries. Add some to the inner corner. I want that to be my inner corner highlight shade. And then just sweep that up. All right, I definitely want to play around with some shimmers now, but I'm going to go ahead and prime the lid with the Clionadh and Bad to the Brow Shimmer Primer. Focusing that on the center of the lid. And the first shimmer I want to dip into is Summer Scare. It's this kind of chromy, yellow, orange, pink shade here. It has a smooth texture to it. And I'm just going to put that on the inner portion of the lid. All right. I really like that shimmer. I think that the second one I'm going to play with is Golden Hour. This was my favorite shimmer when I was swatching the palette. It's a very grungy tone shade. And I'm just going to add that kind of to blend into that first shimmer and work it into the deeper blue matte. I could end there, but I think I want to use just a little bit of this purple shimmer called Summerween. And I'm just going to take the smallest amount and put that on the lower lash line. just for a little pop of shimmer there as well. All right, I added some liner and mascara, and here is the first completed look. This is definitely more shadow than I usually wear under the eye, but I like that it gave me a chance to really play around with the colors in this palette. All right, and I do want to close up with some wrap-up thoughts on Summerween. I know that I have taken my first look off where I use this palette, but I have to say this is definitely one of the most fun color stories that I have tried from Gourmande Girls, and they have some really unique color stories. But the assortment of mattes in here is probably amongst my favorite that they've done. I just felt like there was a lot of cohesiveness with these shades. I feel like you could use any of them together. They make sense to me. There are a couple of things that I would change personally. I would have made one of these mattes, these two green mattes here, a little bit more different. I do feel like these look similar when you swatch them. I do like that there is a yellow toned matte in here. Would have subbed these out for something else. I'm not sure what, maybe a lilac or a deeper green. I feel like that would have worked well. I would have loved to see one more lighter shimmer, especially in iridescent. Love using an iridescent as a highlighting shade. I didn't feel like I had one of those in here, but you know, despite that, I used a lot of the shades in here for my look, and I felt like this honestly was one of the most fun looks that I've done recently, or you know, that in terms of my experience with creating a look. Really enjoyed using this to create a fun, colorful look, and everything performed really well. All right, and the second palette we're going to dip into is Ember. I've been excited to play around with this one for some time. I just feel like you could get some really pretty smoky eyes with this one. And I love the price points on these two. I just feel like you get such a good bang for your buck. We're going to start off with this gray tone matte here, and just placing that all over the lid. I'm going to use this one as my transition shade. I also just want to take a moment for this outer packaging. It has like almost a puffy feel to it, just really playful and fun. I'm going to take that same shade and dust it under the lower lash line. And as to my deepening up shade, I think I'm going to use this deep cool toned brown matte here. They do have one that's almost black, but I think I want to stick to this one. And just start to deepen up that outer corner. And then work a little bit along the lower lash line. I actually feel like this is a really pretty look all by itself, even without the shimmers, but there are some gorgeous shimmers in here, so of course we're going to dip into those. I think I want to start off with this one here. I will go ahead and swatch it on camera just so you can see. Here's what it looks like on my fingertip. Does this one have hollow reflex in it? No, I don't think so, but ooh, it's going to put this one on the inner portion of the lid. That is a really beautiful shimmer. Now I'm going to dip into this charcoal shimmer here because I do have a deeper shade on the outer corner. And just going to blend those shimmers together and work it into that deeper matte. All right, I love how those two shimmers performed. I really want to use this shimmer here, which definitely looks like a hollow to me. Let me show you what it looks like swatched. Here's what it looks like on my fingertip. And here's what it looks like on the back of my hand. I feel like this one will be a really pretty highlighting shade. So I'm just going to take a little bit and put it on the brow bone. just put a little bit on the inner corner. And here is the second completed look. All right, and I do want to close up with some wrap-up thoughts on this palette before I dive into talking about the third palette. I have to say, I think this is one of my favorite color stories that Cheeryep has done. They've done some absolutely stunning, colorful stories as well, but especially in terms of neutral color stories that they've done, this has to be amongst my favorites. They have a lot of palettes that, in all honesty, are just a little bit too light for my skin tone. So I love that this is a richer, deeper, sultry neutral color story. And it's not just the richer tones that I love, because I do love that you have at least 2 deepening up shades. Really, for me, I've got 2 deepening up shades. I have some nice transition shades. There are some lighter toned mattes in here, but not too many. There's like, yeah, 2 lighter mattes. This is a shimmer heavy palette in general, but the shimmers in here are very standout. You have this beautiful blue-brown duochrome that I have on the inner portion of the lid. I love the hollow as well, the charcoal shimmer, but there's shimmers that I didn't get to. I didn't use this beautiful silver shimmer here. There's some satin shades in here, and they're a little bit different in tone. I love that they included one that's this kind of green satin shimmer as well. I just feel like the tones of this palette are really pretty, and this is the type of neutral palette that I personally gravitate toward, because these are the type of neutral looks I like to make. Let's go ahead and dip into this third palette. This is what the outside looks like. This yarn is so interesting. I've definitely never seen the brand do anything like it, or even another brand. And here's what the inside looks like. This is the star glitter that I thought I wasn't going to use, but I think I actually am pretty tempted to incorporate it into my look. So yeah, I think I want to start off with this purple shade here. I think I'm going to do a purple halo eye. This color story actually challenges me the most. I think there are, definitely things that I would change about it, which I will discuss at the end. Namely, I love it when shades incorporate more deeper shades in here, which, I have this purple. This is the deepest matte in the palette, which is why I knew I was going to incorporate it into my look. I'm going to use that to create a halo. Just putting down some shadow. Now I'm just going to use a slightly bigger brush to diffuse that product a little bit more and get more of a seamless blend. I've seen a few people play around with this palette already online, and it got me even more excited for dipping into it. It's been a lot of fun to see more and more people discovering the brand, because I feel like they really do bring a great quality of eyeshadow, some fun color stories, and at such a great price point. All right, and this is where we're at so far. Thinking about what shade I want to put in the center of the halo, I was debating between this lilac tone and this yellow tone, but I think I'm going to go for the yellow tone and use it maybe as a base for this satin yellow here. There's actually quite a few shades that I wanted to dip into, but I am not going to be able to use all of them in this look. Ooh, yeah. Love the way that that contrasts next to the purple. All right, I actually am happy that I went with that shade. Now I am going to dip into this yellow satin shade here. Just going to pick that up. I'm going to pick it up with my brush just so I have a little bit more control with the application, and go over where I put down that yellow matte. Something I really do enjoy about using satin shades is that you do have quite a bit of control over the application compared to normal shimmers, like super sparkly shimmers. All right, and I haven't done the lower lash line yet, which is where I think I'm going to play around with some of these blue shimmers. So I'm going to start off with this shade here, which also looks kind of like a satin texture. Pick it up on a slightly smaller brush and just add that to the inner portion of the lower lash line. This is just giving me a way of incorporating some of the other shades, and that is a beautiful shimmer. All right, and on the outermost portion, I'm going to use this more kind of navy blue shimmer. That'll give me a little bit more depth, and it'll tie in well with the other shades that I've already been using. All right, I do really want to use this lilac toned matte here. This is like, has a little bit of shimmer in it, but I feel like it's not going to translate. I feel like it's just going to look like a regular matte when I apply it. So I'm just going to use that as my inner corner highlighting shade. All right, and then I'm just going to dip into one more shimmer before I go in with the star glitter. I think I'm going to use this shade as a brow bone highlight. Just pick up a little bit with my fingertip and apply that right on the brow bone. Yeah, this is good because it has kind of a scattered glitter effect, kind of green toned. All right, now I'm just going to try to pick up a little bit of that star glitter on my fingertip and add that right to the center of the halo. These glitters are just like different colors. They're actually a lot of fun. Like I said, I don't normally do glitter like this, and it doesn't claim to be eye safe. So, but I'm gonna, I just wanted to try it out, and I just thought it would be fun. All right, I added some eyeliner and mascara, but I do want to add a little bit of highlighter as well. This is the REM Beauty Cream Highlight in Fembot. Let me swatch it on the back of my hand. This came out last year and it became part of the permanent lineup. Here's what it looks like swatched. I'm just going to pick up a little bit on my fingertip and dab that onto the cheekbones. This is quite a lovely highlight, and it is at Ulta in case you're curious. Here is the third completed look. All right, now that I've had a chance to do some detailed swatches and a look using this new palette from Cheeryep called Firework, I want to close up with some wrap-up thoughts. Honestly, I enjoyed using this palette quite a bit more than I expected. I think when I saw the palette, I was like, oh no, there's really not any deep shades in here. And, honestly, I still feel like this is more of a companion palette for me than either of the other two palettes that I showed. But there's some beautiful shimmers in here. I didn't expect the star glitter and that I would have fun using it. This is totally not going to be for everyone. But if you're going for kind of like festival look and you like incorporating glitter, you can put this on your face. You don't have to put it near your eyes. It is a lot of fun. Really enjoyed these shimmers. I would totally use them as like lid shades in other looks because these, I love a blue shimmer. And yeah, I think the quality is there for sure. It's just maybe not my favorite color story of the three and in general from the brand, but I really did have fun using it. And I have to say, I really do enjoy how this look came out. All right, now that I've had a chance to do some detailed swatches and looks with 3 different palettes, I would love to know what you think of these 3 palettes. Let me know which of the 3 is your favorite down in the comments if you're planning to pick any of them up. If you already have one of them, especially the 2 Cbeauty palettes that have been out for a little while. And if you made it to the end of the video, I would love it if you left me some type of glitter emoji or just a comment in general. As always, I really hope you found this video helpful. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.